We do want to get into now the biggest news heading into the week before we found out that the Titans practiced illegally. And that was the first axe coming down on a head coach. If I was a betting man, I would have put money on Matt Patricia. I would put money on Adam Gase. I would not have put money on Bill O'Brien, but little do we know as we sit here as the Texans are 0-4. Bill O'Brien as head coach, Bill O'Brien as general manager have been fired. Now there's an opening in Houston with Deshaun Watson and the Texans going forward. Who will they tap? Who will they hire to hopefully turn this team around? Because there's a lot to turn around. This is going to be a major project for whoever takes over as GM and whoever takes over as head coach. One of those names being floated out there recently this week was Clemson coach Dabo Swinney. And I remember, obviously, Deshaun Watson, a Clemson graduate, went to back-to-back national title games with Dabo Swinney at Clemson, won one, lost one. And now, because, it's easy to put two and two together, Deshaun Watson in Houston, you had Dabo talk about how he was going to be the Michael Jordan of quarterbacks. Whoever passed it will regret it. So far, it's looking right. Do you think he would be interested in taking the job? Well, Dabo was asked that question earlier this week at a Clemson press conference. This is what he had to say.
Have you heard from Deshaun since the shakeup in Houston yesterday? And are you ready for your name to be kind of floating around with that job over the next few weeks, few months?
I have not heard from Deshaun, and that is not even anything that I want to even have to even think about. It's just, you would be the one to ask that question. All the questions. Now, you want to ask anything about Miami? Next question.
Okay.
That is not even being entertained. Dabo was about to say, before he caught himself, that is so far down the road. Meaning, yeah, I'll entertain it. Right now I'm trying to win a national title at Clemson, but hey, once that season's over, that is so far down the road. I'm not thinking about it now, but guess what? Come December, come January, if those Texans come calling, I'm going to answer. I may not take it, but I'll at least listen. So that has me thinking this. If the Texans hire Dabo Swinney, if he becomes the next Texans head coach starting in 2021, without a doubt in my mind, he will be one of the worst head coaches in NFL history. And there have been, trust me, we know there have been some brutal head coaching hires. Lou Holtz with the Jets, awful. Hugh Jackson with the Browns recently, god awful. Without a doubt in my mind, if Dabo Swinney takes the head coaching job with the Texans, if Cal McNair, the owner of Houston, decides, you know what, Dabo's our guy going forward, we're going to make the hire. We're going to do whatever we can to roll it out here to get him to be our next head coach. It would be one of the worst mistakes any NFL team has ever made with a head coach for a few reasons. Number one, his style, his shtick, if you will, does not translate to the NFL. We've seen rah-rah coaches in college work. Pete Carroll, right, at USC, he was a motivator. More the defensive side of the ball, but his overall job as CEO, essentially, of the USC program was to fire guys up, get them ready to play, recruit as good as hell to get those best players in Southern California at USC's campus. He did a tremendous job of that. USC was a dynasty. They were a juggernaut when he was in charge. Went to the NFL. Part of the reason why it works is because his rah-rah shtick was not the same as Dabo's. He had NFL experience with the Patriots and with the Jets. He knew how to treat professionals like professionals. Having this motivational cliche talk of, oh, look at us at little old Clemson, or after they beat Notre Dame to really get their first big-time win, trying to really first pronounce Clemson's on the scene back in 2015. The first year they went to the national championship with Deshaun Watson and lost. You had that phrase, bring your own guts, BYOG. They have the Roy bus. Keep thinking that they're the underdog here with little old Clemson. Continue to shock everyone, continue to get disrespected. You know what professionals would do when they hear that? Roll their eyes. That college rah-rah stuff does not work in the pros. We've seen it before. It does not work. Players will stop listening. They'll think you're a joke. And if you try to treat them like college kids, you're going to be in big trouble. And that's the last thing professional athletes are. That is the last thing professional athletes are. So I'm worried about his style. I don't think it would translate at all in any way in a positive in the NFL. Can't recruit talent in the pros. This is one of Dabo's greatest strengths at Clemson as a head coach in college football. He is able, no matter where the kid is, no matter how good he is, no matter where he's leaning, to get into that living room with parents. Talk to kids in high school when they have offers from Ohio State, from Alabama, from Georgia, from name it, every big-time program. He has done a phenomenal job at convincing them to go to Clemson, South Carolina, play for him. I'll give you a chance to turn it around here to get you to the pros. He's succeeded tremendously at that. But you know what you can't do in the pros? You can't recruit. Can't go to any big-time free agent. You can't go to DeAndre Hopkins's. Maybe that's a bad example. I'm going to use DeAndre Hopkins anyway. Can't go to his agent and say, hey, listen, we'd love to have DeAndre back here with Houston. Bill O'Brien's got him. He made a mistake. We'd love DeAndre back. Look at the receiving core we have. We need your help. Can't go to any offensive lineman because, man, they need help on the offensive line. Say, hey, we need you to come here to Houston. Play for me. Protect Deshaun Watson. Can't do it. So I'm curious. I really am curious how good of a coach he can be when he doesn't have an overwhelming talent advantage. And let's be honest, that's what Clemson has. Now, to his credit, he has built that talent advantage at Clemson. He's done it himself. He was there when it first started. He's taken some lumps. He's taken some bad losses. But he himself helped to build the massive talent gap between Clemson and everybody else in the ACC. But how good of a coach can you be when all things are equal? Or, in the case of the Texans right now, you have less talent than a lot of teams you play. Let's be honest, outside of Deshaun Watson, that roster is awful. A lot of teams you're playing have more talent than you. You have the advantage of the quarterback, and that does help a lot. That cleans up a lot of mistakes, gives you a chance. But offensive line, wide receiver, defense, running back, a lot of teams have better talent than you. So how good of a coach can he be when the talent advantage is equal or maybe even less? I have my doubts. And he has the right, if you want to say mentality in college as more of a CEO mentality, right? He doesn't coach the offense, he doesn't coach the defense. He's more the manager, the CEO. That does help becoming a pro coach. Look at Matt Rule, CEO at Temple, CEO at Baylor, now essentially the CEO with the Panthers. Had some success so far. Panthers are playing hard. But his best issue, or I should say when your greatest attribute is just collecting talent and then giving it to your coaches to coach up, to develop, to put them in a position to win, that just doesn't happen in the pros. Can't just collect talent and good talent as easy as you can when you're in college. And finally, we'll just go back to that question he was asked and then answered. The media scrutiny in the NFL, I don't think would do Dabo much good. We've already seen him a few times put his foot in his mouth. He's not crushed for the most part. He's not really criticized because he's winning 11, 12, 13, 14 games a year. He's getting to national title games. He's winning national championships. And as we know, winning cures all. Winning solves a lot of issues. But now when you're asking these hard questions, when you're getting mad at media members because they're asking you valid questions, right? He just got mad. The clip I just played you. A valid question from a Clemson reporter. Has Deshaun Watson reached out to you? That was your former quarterback. His team just fired their head coach and their general manager. You guys had a lot of success at Clemson. Did he reach out to you at all and ask, hey, would you be interested, coach, in coaching me now in the pros? And Dabo Swinney, as you heard, got frustrated and upset because he was asked that question, a very valid question, not unfair, not a cheap shot, very well timed, and he's upset because no one's asking him about the Miami game this week. Hate to tell you, Dabo, that's not how journalism works. They don't ask you the questions you want them to ask. They ask the questions that need to be asked. They ask the questions that people are talking about. This was a talking point this week. We're talking about it right now. So you don't have to like the question. But don't get mad at the reporter for asking a perfectly valid question and you just don't like it because you don't want to answer it. So I have my doubts when you get to Houston, dealing with that Houston media, dealing with the NFL media, that it's going to work out okay. That he's going to be able to handle all that pressure, be in a fishbowl the entire time he's there. So I have, without a doubt in my mind, if Dabo Swinney is hired in 2021 to be the Texans head coach, he would be the worst head coach, one of the worst we've ever seen. It would set the Texans franchise back a while. I'm not kidding. I feel perfectly confident saying that. I think what he has works perfectly in college football, works perfectly at Clemson. Does not translate much anywhere else, especially to the pros. Maybe you can go from, Clemson to Alabama. If that's the job he truly wants when Nick Saban retires, he takes that. His style could translate there. But in terms of translating it to the pros, it does not at all. Motivational cliches work with college kids. You're there 2 or 3 years. They're young. They're impressionable. Let's also be honest. Even if they don't buy it, they're there to go to the pros. They're there to win national championships, yes. They're there to play the best they possibly can, yes. But they're also there to go to the next level. They've seen Dabo Swinney in this Clemson program has done a great job of putting players in positions to get to the next level. Get drafted high, play well in the pros, get paid. So you're willing to put up with maybe some BS to try to get to that level that once you're there, you're not going to go with. Pros aren't going to deal with being treated like college kids, being treated like babies. Getting cliches yelled at them 24/7. So I am very confident if Dabo Swinney is hired, it would be an abject failure for the Texans organization.